Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to United States of America. Good morning to every corner of this place where our 100,000 watt transmitter gets its signals penetrating Northeast Texas, Northwest Texas, or rather Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Southwest Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana. Anyway, we're going to have a great show for you today. Of course, today is Aquino Day. He's in to talk some more politics with us all. Anyway, before we get started, I want to say by our geniuses in the studio. Good morning, Howard. Good morning, Jack.
We have those. We have geniuses here.
Yes.
If we were truly geniuses, we would be working somewhere else.
Did you catch a genius in your trap this morning?
Wait.
No.
I am going to interrupt y'all's first morning rant. I am going to interrupt your first and say this.
Okay.
I'm going to say this. Howard, I usually agree with you, but I'm in complete disagreement this morning. You said you were a genius, you would be working somewhere else. Because you're a genius, you are working here because you are making a difference to make sure this country, you're part of the warriors that make sure this country is continuing, man. The democracy in this country is continuing. So no, brother, you're the genius. Anyway, brothers, what's up?
Well, Egberto, I think that I don't have a rant today, but I have some information.
Yes, talk to me.
I read up on this movement that they've got going on. What is it? It's the foundation, the Heritage Foundation.
Yes, Project 2025. Yeah.
Yeah. I would implore anyone with a half a brain to read their agenda. Mm-hmm. It's pretty shocking. I don't think they can do all that because there's a lot of safeguards in place to stop that from happening. But seriously, if you're thinking about voting for that R party, you should seriously read this Project 2025 and the mayhem that is going to follow. So, please just read up on what their agenda is, and you will be shocked. And they're very public about it too. So, do read up on it, inform yourself, get some information, and decide. Is that toggle on that switch going to be worth this? Because I don't think it is.
Absolutely. Anyway, Jack, ¿qué pasó, hermano mío?
I've been thinking about commerce, and some of the addictive commerce that's out there that, is really bad on the people. And this is going to sound a little like a big, long run-on sentence, but it kind of ties together some dots. It's not a safe world anymore. Probably never was. Certain class of men and women who hide behind the curtain, who lust after riches and resources, control and domination have enriched themselves and have built a war machine out of the people's pocket. It's called corporate welfare. Paying and outsourcing defense contractors to build the planes, the bombs, the guns, to wage war on the innocent, to get the resources, to exploit the consumer with addictive commerce and processes. They want you addicted and lustful of your possessions, your cars, and your highly caffeinated drinks. Look at the grocery store, whole aisles and stuff to these drinks now, and all the sodas are highly caffeinated. What's going on?
Well, what's going on is unbridled capitalism and unbridled consumerism. I mean, we buy things that we don't need. And I'm guilty of it too. I buy things I don't need. But this is what's going on when you don't regulate capitalism. When you take the guardrails off of capitalism, it just goes everywhere. And pretty soon you're faced with $3 a gallon gasoline. $3.05 is what I paid yesterday to fill my car up. Put in $40, it didn't even fill the car up. So this is what you get when you unregulate everything. I think it's about time to go to the book of Nixon for the wage price freezes for a while and start regulating some of these prices. Of course, they'll never go for it, but Nixon sure tried to stop inflation in the 70s with a wage price freeze.
Yeah.
Nixon was not a terrible president.
No, Nixon.
Unfortunately, Nixon did a lot of good things, and unfortunately, the Watergate tapped him out. But that was our first real experience with a national crisis in the White House like that. So poor Nixon got a black eye, but he did a lot of good things. If you go back and look at his presidency, he was not a bad president.
Nixon would be considered a rhino today. Look, I'm not a Nixon fan at all. And Nixon, it was a crook, all that good stuff. But I mean, like I've said, Donald Trump makes Nixon and Bush too look like saints. But I'm serious. I mean, I'm sorry. It makes them look like saints. But, going into this program, first of all, before I get started with Brother Neil Aquino here, I want to say something because Neil kind of got me on my own rant this morning. And that is, I am really tired, right? And I say this respectfully, with our cowardice. I'm talking about the good people's cowardice. The good people false concern. When you hear me talk about the election in 2024 should be a landslide for the good guys, that's what I mean. The pathway is laid out there. The pathway is laid out. And the way you started this, you said, Howard, you hope people are reading Project 2025. They probably won't, but you hope they're reading Project 2025 to see what they're voting for. The one thing that the right has learned from Trump is don't fear telling people what you're going to do as long as you seem strong doing it, because people like to vote for somebody they perceive as strong, right? So they are now in your face telling you what they intend to do, and they're giving you the impression that it won't matter, it will be better for you. Now, I don't remember which foundation are telling Republicans, go ahead and run on anti-abortionism. Run on it. Don't hide from it. Run from it. They're saying, let's stuff it into these dummies' face, and then they'll continue to vote for you. People that are listening to me out here, we need to stop being scared. While I was at the hospital, a friend comes into the room. What do you think, Egberto? I am so scared. I'm so scared of what's going to happen. I said, we are going to have a landslide. And the reason we are going to have a landslide is all of us who have a mind. We are going to do the job not to go ahead and demean our brothers and sisters who are tempted to vote the wrong way, vote against their own interests, but to respect them and point things out to them and go where they are. Go where they are. Why is it that they're considering? Why are they even considering voting inappropriately? Work with these people, and that's what the path is there that can show direct harm to people if we vote incorrectly in the next election. The pathway is there for the landslide, not only at the presidential level, but at the state level, the local level, the county level. It's there, folks. Stop being scared and get out there and do the work. Invest in the work that it takes. If you care about your mother, your brother, your sister, and everybody else, we have to invest in the work. And when I say invest in the work as well, I'm also talking about financially. When you have the KPFTs of the world telling you, giving you some truths out there, you don't have to wait for a fund drive to say, you know what, I better keep these guys funded to make sure that all this valid information is out there. We can't wait till people get hurt to say, how did it happen? It happened because they are the minority party is more vested than you and I are. We got to change that. We have got to change that. You want to win? Then go take what is laid out for you to win. But before we get started, I want to go, Neil, you wrote a blog that really touched my heart, especially because my father also died 2010, the year that your father died. And I love the entire tone of that blog. So if you're so kind, I would love for you to read that blog.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. And as always, I'm waiting for a call from Louisiana. Someone in Louisiana, please give give us a call. This appears on my Houston Democracy Project blog, Houston Democracy Project, .com, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. So I wrote this on the 12th of March, and this was on the anniversary of my father's death. My father, Anthony S. Aquino, died on this date in 2010 at the age of 80. Tony was a medic in the Korean War. Here is some of what he wrote about the Korean War in the 1970s. And this appeared in the Providence newspaper, the Providence Journal. One thing that I learned is that young men who fought in our wars should never be forgotten. Another fact I learned is that millions may serve, but fewer fight. So in reality, for many who have served, war is a glory and gory myth that feeds on its own legends and publicity. Another truth I learned is that civilians are combatants in war, embattled victims perpetually on a losing side. That brings us to the biggest deception, the need to be ready to defend freedom if we are to keep it. Those who say that freedom has a price are absolutely right and wrong. International conflict today is beyond ideology. The only freedom American and Russian leaders offer their people today is the freedom to kill ourselves in the name of freedom. This is not freedom, but allegiance to a suicidal death culture. Today we are servile to our masters, mistaking economic well-being for true freedom, which is the freedom to live hopefully and not to die needlessly. Thankfully, Tony died before Trump became president. He never saw Trump embrace the North Korean dictator, which is just incredible to me that this goes on. Trump degrades everything he touches. I don't know how people tolerate it or have any self-respect in accepting it. Have a drink or a cigarette today to recall Tony. Buy a lottery ticket or read a book. Tony spent a year on the North Korean-Chinese border in combat that helped bring some freedom to South Korea. Though recently there have been attacks on that freedom in South Korea. Thanks to Trump and his supporters for helping create a climate that erodes freedom across the earth. And all politicians should stop taking the endorsement of anti-democratic police unions. If Tony could fight for strangers 5,000 miles away from his home in Rhode Island, we can show up for our own freedom here at home. That's what I wrote about Tony. Died in March 12th, 2010 in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And that fits exactly the profile that we have been talking about here. And I love it. If Tony could fight for strangers 5,000 miles away from his home in Rhode Island, we can show up for our own freedom here at home. Folks, everybody's not listening to Tony's story right now, but you can talk about Tony's story. You can tell them about Tony's story. You can actually let folks understand. Let your teenager, your voting teenager, let them understand what's really at stake. And
let me
go ahead.
No, and I'll make one more point that he would stress to me. Tony would talk to me about he grew up in Rhode Island, and he had the attitudes of the day towards Black people. He would say that he was Italian, and he would say the only thing that would bring the Irish and Italian kids together was to fight the Black kids back in the 30s. And he talked to me about, as being a soldier, that he saw the common humanity of the Chinese and the North Korean and South Korean American civilians and soldiers. And he talked to me about being in the first desegregated units. He would tell a story, and he wasn't braggadocious. He didn't tell these stories all the time. He didn't hang out with other veterans or stuff like that. But he would tell a story of another soldier, a Black soldier who he would play fight with. The Black soldier would pretend he was Joe Louis, and Dad would pretend he was Rocky Marciano. And he would say that people really didn't understand what they were doing because they had never seen Black and white people not fighting for real. They were just joking. So another thing Dad took out of that was he made clear to me the common humanity of the Chinese, North Korean, and all those folks. And he would refer to his fellow soldiers and the civilians as unlucky bastards. That's the term he would use, rather than as enemy. And he said, and that shows you the meaning of public policy. President Truman desegregated the Army, and that changed my dad's attitudes, and he passed those on to me. So That's important stuff. It shows how public policy makes a difference. It shows how people can change, and even can see the humanity of someone who tried to kill them. And he killed Chinese soldiers. He told me that he had killed one Chinese soldier, point blank, even though he was a medic. So people do change, people do see, and even in the harshest of circumstances, we can see other people's humanity.
Thank you for that, Neil. I appreciate that. Anyway, let me tell you first what today's subject is supposed to be about. But, as usual, everybody comes on this show and they change up the confounded subjects. Why again? Because the program is yours. That's the reason why. So the title of the show today is Aquino in the House. MAGA is too much for resigning partier. A Tea Party congressman resigned because MAGA was even too much for him. Wow. And last subject, time for a 32-hour work week. Folks, we're probably not going to get to all of this. So remember, you can always go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All our videos, everything continues to be there. Our videos, everything continues to be there. I think maybe that's Johnny calling back again. I'll get to Johnny as soon as but I don't know if he hung up or what, but he's been there waiting. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Neil, you had while Jack gets the phone system as far as who's calling and all of that straightened out, you had a second blog title, When Republicans Say They'll Take Democracy, Take It at Face Value. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. And this also is at HoustonDemocracyProject.com on the blog. So this was prompted, I'll excerpt this a little bit. This was prompted by a tweet by State Representative Tom Ulverson, who I believe is up in Cyprus. And he retweeted the defeated and always bitter Alexander Melior. And so, they are going on about Sean Tier. And Melior tweeted out that, I hope he'll hold criminals accountable and all that, right? They make it like we want to let criminals out, just as a matter of course. And of course, Ms. Melior was part of the shameful anti-democratic lawsuits to overturn the 2020 election. I forget his name, but the Republican nominee for district attorney was one of those people who filed one of those lawsuits. They were all dismissed. And they filed these lawsuits to overturn the election. And now this guy wants to execute our laws. The refusal of Republicans to accept. So Ulverson then tweeted out, this might be a good time to get reacquainted with House Bill 17 passed last session, which allows rogue DAs to be removed from office for failing to prosecute criminals. Okay, so the upshot of this is they're already talking about removing Sean Tier. They're already, he hasn't been elected. The election isn't for 7.5 months. It's not a given that he will win. I want to be real clear. It is not a given that our candidates will win countywide. They are coming. Melior lost by 18,000 votes. They are coming with the same tough on crime to their whatever their weird definitions of tough on crime are. They're coming from the same way. This is just going to be the Melior campaign 2.0. I say there is no public safety without democracy. I say that over and over and over. We need to expand our conceptions of public safety to include democracy. We are not safe without the prospect of representation or with elected representatives who must always look over their shoulder at the prospect of removal by authoritarian Republicans. Okay. And if you don't think, earlier we talked about the guardrails. Will the guardrails hold up in a Project 2025? I'm a little less confident. I don't mean to contradict the geniuses. I'm not a genius myself, but I'm a little less confident that the guardrails will hang up. I think you have a president who has the court. You would have the courts stacked, and I think you would have a president and a Republican Party that would just say, "We're going to do what we want," and the court's going to do it. So we are already locally saying we'll remove these officials. And I just want everyone to hear that. They're talking about removing people who haven't even been elected yet.
That's the idea. And the issue with the guardrails is the 50,000 civil servants that he is planning on firing.
Right,
50,000 civil servants who are the bureaucrats that actually are nonpartisan in their function, not necessarily who they are. But let's go to Johnny. Johnny, come on in, my brother. I think we got you back on.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
Right. The other day at Sam's Club, a single bag of Scott's weed and feed, something like $67 instead of $24. $67 for one bag for weed and feed. That's not Joe Biden. That's greed. That's corporate greed. You know how much a car rental is going for midsize right now? How much would you expect to pay for rental a day for a midsize car?
What's the product?
A midsize SUV. How much would you pay a day to rent one?
I don't know. Probably what, $40, $50?
Well, I remember at one time, not too long ago, it was $25, $35.
I remember that.
What they want now? Just basic, with no insurance and no other bills, $85 a day.
Wow. Yeah.
Again, we're talking about corporate greed. It's got nothing to do with Joe Biden. In fact, a lot of times, like the oil companies, when they see a Democrat in the White House, they act out, and then they know they can blame it on the Democrat in the White House. Why? Because we have a weak media. We have legacy media in Manhattan, owned and controlled by the American corporate industrial oligarchy. And by the way, you guys brought up about price controls under Nixon. Let's not forget, even though the current MAGA makes Nixon look like Mother Teresa on the back of a Harley, don't forget that it was less than 25 years after we dropped the first bomb on Japan that under Nixon, they could have dropped a bomb on Cambodia. That's what Nixon and Kissinger were arguing about. They were actually having a conversation about whether to bomb with a nuclear bomb Cambodia. These are the kind of people that want to that want to get back into power.
Absolutely so, Johnny. Hey, Johnny, I want to add a corollary to something that you just said. You just said it's corporate greed. But, Americans don't see inflation as what I call it, which is a corporate greed rate. It's not the inflation rate, it's the corporate greed rate. And you know why they don't see it? Because you're correct, first of all, that the mainstream media doesn't cover it that way. They cover it as if it's a political issue. It's only a political issue insofar as the president of the United States doesn't come out and knock the corporate. Let me tell you, If we would have presidents and politicians go out there and the first time beef prices go up, go ahead and get their experts to see the pricing scenario, and then immediately come and go onto national TV and call a press conference and say the reason the price of beef went up is because we are in a capitalist society and they have price control. This is what it costs them to produce the beef. This is what they're charging you. Don't blame the politician. Give us the power or to change that. Give us the power to change that. People act as if our economy occurs in a vacuum, like it's this when they said, let the market decide. That's the funniest piece of crap when I talk to you guys about a fraudulent economic system. When they said, let the market decide, that is saying, no, let the plutocrats do as they please, because the plutocrats are the market. And people will say, well, there's supply and demand or whatever. Well, are you going to not demand bread? Come on, people. Let's be straight and be honest. It is the responsibility of brave politicians, including our current president, to go out there and tell people why things are the way they are. I mean, but Brother Trump doesn't have a problem lying to you to tell you why things are the way they are. Why don't you try telling them the straight truth about why things are the way they are? Prices are high, not because of inflation, but because of corporate greed. And you know what? Mathematically speaking, we can prove it. 713-526-5738. Thank you, Johnny, for calling in as usual with your wise commentary. And let's go ahead.
One final image.
Yes, go ahead.
When you're in an ambulance on the way to the hospital, they've got you brainwashed. They've socialized you into accepting the fact that you will have to pay for it with a so-called insurance card, private for-profit insurance card. In other words, they've got you thinking that you're on the way to gamble at a casino, not on the ER, going to the ER to get your leg stitched because you're bleeding. So, yeah, there's that. And next week when I call, I will refute every point that the other Brian made yesterday with regards to Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. Goodbye.
Well, thank you, Johnny. And I have a paragraph to read on that. I hope I can get to the paragraph. You want to say something, Neil? I thought I saw you saying something.
I just want to make a brief comment on the rent. Yeah, I just want to talk briefly about the rental car example. If you're old enough, you remember, O.J. Simpson, pardon mention of his name, would do the ads, run through the airport. There was Avis, Hertz. These companies were competing with each other. I rent a car twice a year at the airport in Cincinnati, and there's some poor harried person, and they're under a sign. They're representing 6 companies at once: Alamo, National, whatever they all are. These companies have consolidated. You go into a rental car office and you see some of the most miserable people. They are representing 4, 5, 6 companies at once, and the rental car industry to me is just a perfect. And so often you get the car. The last car I had had some dried blood in the back that they hadn't missed. But the staffing cuts in rental car companies is really an example of no regulation, deregulation, lack of care. And I really have empathy for rental car company employees. I really want to just hug them when I see how hurried they are. And I think that's a great example of corporate greed, corporate layoffs, corporate cutbacks, and just accustoming people to cruddy service.
Thank you very much for that. Let's go to Harry.
Good morning, Professor Egberto. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Jack. And good morning, Howard. Well, I just want to talk about 3 things briefly. The first thing I heard about an hour ago on NPR when they were going to their main news, that Donald Trump said that he was entitled to take those documents, that loose cannon. What do you expect? And then Joe Biden, I mentioned this yesterday, but we couldn't talk about it. But when he had a Democratic-controlled Senate and House in 2021, when he took office, why didn't he come up with a bill, an SB4 bill, to deal with the southern border problem with undocumented people seeking asylum? And then about Project 2025, I was listening to Arnie Arnesen. We had this woman named Andrea Watkins, and she was talking about, and you talked about it too, Egberto, yesterday on your show, that with Project 2025, this woman outlined that they started on that like in 1979, and they've just been adding to it since then. And they were saying that the Republicans, as Howard mentioned earlier, they want to do a lot of things to just do whatever they want. They just think that the Bible is the only thing that counts, and government laws and state laws don't matter. It's just whatever the Bible says, and that's very troubling and disturbing. So I'm going to read up on that. And and anybody, like Howard said, is thinking about voting for the RNC. And like I said, like I was telling my friend last night in Florida, unless you are a plutocrat and oligarch, if you are a working person, you have no business voting for that loose cannon Donald Trump.
Now, I want to correct something that you said, my brother. And when you said that they say that they want to follow the Bible, as I don't remember if you recall 2 days ago when we spoke to, I think it was Brad. No, I think it was Brad, when he spoke about being a Christian nationalist. And I explained to him, please just take the word Christian off of the Christian nationalist, because it's okay to be the nationalist that you want to be. But remember that nothing that you stand for is something Jesus would stand for. And before I was a humanist, I was a devout Christian. I came to this United States as a devoted Christian, and as I explained in my book, I think it's one. I think it was is the one, How to Talk to Your Right Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. As I see it, I mean, I think that was the one that's one where I spoke about how I made that transition from Christianity to humanism. But anyway, the fact of the matter is the following: they are not following the Bible at all. And again, Moses called in a few days ago and specified that as well. She knows her Bible very well. But anyway, Harry, thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother.
I remember who it was. It was Bard.
Bard. Right, yeah.
He was talking about America first, Western Africa, and I remember Augie calling in a few days ago, complaining about what Bard said. And I remember what you quoted the Bible. You said, "Love thy neighbor as I love thyself." And when Bard was talking about Christian nationalism, he was talking about Israel doesn't matter, the southern border doesn't matter, all these other countries.
My God, Harry, stop, Harry, stop. I'm going to start calling you Photographic Harry, okay? Photographic Memory Harry.
I remember all that stuff.
Hey, Harry, I got to go. Got to go to Augie.
Okay,
got to go to Augie. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Augie. Come on, brother Augie. Talk to me. One of our great supporters here.
Good morning. When Neil was talking about his dad, it reminded me of my dad. My dad died a couple of months before his 80th birthday, and he was in World War II. He was there in D-Day on day one. He was there at the Battle of the Bulge. And his unit got run by service, but he escaped and kept on fighting until he got frostbite in both his feet, like a lot of other American soldiers, because they didn't have the proper winter gear. And that started a lot of memories in me. But and then talking about Nixon, for some reason, Republican candidates like to negotiate with foreign leaders. Nixon negotiated with South Vietnam, the Diem brothers, when he was running against Humphrey, and they sent Claire Chennault's wife, who was prominent in the Republican Party in Louisiana, to tell the Diem brothers. Johnson had gotten the North Vietnam to come to a Paris Peace Accord during that time, during the election. But they went to the Diem brothers in South Vietnam, told them, "Don't go. Republicans will give you a better deal if Nixon wins." So they didn't go, and the war went on. And a bunch of my classmates died over there. And I was thinking, if we had the Paris Peace Accord back like in the what was it, the like 68,
he would be still alive.
He was still alive.
Yeah. That's.
But you know who else did that, Augie? Ronald Reagan. They were going to release the hostages in 1979, and Ronald Reagan sent an attaché over to Iran, and to say hold back until after the election. And believe it or not, that is the likelihood of why Carter, one of the presidents I most admire in this country, as a true humanist, I mean, he's a Christian, but what I mean, he has true human values. That is President Carter. I love that guy. The only real president has kept us out of war. Go ahead, Augie.
Yeah, and then the hostages blamed Jimmy Carter for keeping them in there when they were blaming the wrong guy. And,
right.
Things been a lot different if he'd won the second term. But what Johnny said about nuclear war, that's it actually happened. I met a guy who was in Thailand with F-105 fighter bombers, and we were talking. George W. Bush joined the National Guard. That was another way to dodge the draft. That's another thing. Republican politicians are draft dodgers. They like draft dodgers. They like civilians that negotiate with foreign powers. The National Guard, the NG, in our unit, we call them the no-go outfit because they weren't going to go to war. And the F-105 guy told me that over there, they called them Nixon's girlies for NG. But the F-105, he said, in Thailand, they had nuclear bombs ready to go. and he couldn't sleep that night because next morning they were supposed to launch and bomb
Wow.
North Vietnam with nuclear bombs.
Augie,
And that-
thank you for your commentary, Augie. I got to go because I want to read something from the Mado blog because of a caller. I think his name was Brian yesterday. And so I want to read a quick blog for that. But thank you so kindly for calling in, my brother.
And like you said, Jimmy Carter was probably the only Christian president we ever had.
A real one. Yes, a real Christian. A real Christian. Yes. Thank you, brother. Have a good one. Anyway, let me tell you something, folks. A caller called in, and I gave him a lot of latitude to go ahead and, to say the stuff that he wanted to say as he defended Donald Trump, because everybody here has a right to say what they want to say. But as he was talking, we didn't have enough time to counter with some reality, right? So it's amazing that yesterday now I was reading, and I don't remember where it came across, a blog that was done perfectly at the Mata blog site. And I want to read it real quickly. On March 6, 2024, exactly 4 years to the day after Trump's CDC trip, House Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik spoke at the Capitol Hill press conference and struck a nostalgic note. She said, as Ronald Reagan famously asked us, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?" The New York Congresswoman said, "The answer for hardworking Americans across the country is a resounding no." I'm mindful of the fact that Stefanik, a Trump sycophant, is auditioning for the role of her party's vice presidential nominee, which has led her to make some deeply unfortunate comments of late. But the idea that conditions in the United States got worse after Trump left the White House is demonstrably ridiculous. As regular readers know, the nation's unemployment rate, for example, has dramatically improved. And for the first time in over half a century, Americans have seen jobless rates below 4% for 2 years. Economic growth has also improved, and the major stock market indexes have reached all-time highs. When Trump left office, the pandemic was claiming the lives of thousands of Americans per day, and vaccines were not widely available to the public. Or put another way, the COVID crisis has gotten better under Biden too. The nation's uninsured rate got better under Biden. The supply chain challenges got better under Biden. The cost of many prescription drugs got better under Biden. Infrastructure investments got better under Biden. The budget deficit got better under Biden. Crime rates got better under Biden. Domestic manufacturing got better under Biden. The United States global standard soared after Biden replaced Trump in the White House. These aren't opinions. They are just what happened. And I am no Biden fan. You know I'm a Berniac. But Biden has been the best progressive president based on policy in my lifetime as an American citizen to date. And while it is easy for me to go ahead and say I do not like his Israeli policies, I think he's condoning Netanyahu's genocide. I can say that. I can say a lot of things I don't like about this man. But when it comes to what is occurring and who the options are, let me take my host hat off. I think the answers are clear. The answers that are best for the American citizenry are clear. Donald, come on in.
Hey, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning,
today?
sir. I am fine, my brother. Talk to me, sir.
Well, when Youngblood called in with that suggestion yesterday, I listened to the song, My Vote Don't Count, and then I listened to My Vote Will Count.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. It brought me back to the day of, I'm a Bill, Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah, Schoolhouse Rock, yeah.
So did you get a chance to listen to it?
I did. I mean, man, I keep telling people, if you want me to do something, send me an email. kpft@politicsdoneright.com.
Oh, come on. Then I'm going to ask you, did you watch the dictator speech, But Anyways, in that song, it breaks it down. And people, you really need to listen to it because it's what you vote, and this is what you grassroots guys are doing. You're starting at the low levels and you're moving up. Because over a 10 or 15 year period or 20-year period, you will get to what you want. You've got to take baby steps. You got to crawl before you walk. And the one thing that came out in the song, which I really liked, it reminded me of NF or Nathan Furtado or whatever his name is the lyrics wasn't too strong. They were good. And it's about electing who you want to represent you and not blaming the president and not blaming. And I go right back to it every time. If you want a bill, you got to get with your people and then they got to push it up the chain. The thing is, we need them rascals up there to start working. If the Supreme Court's only taking so many cases a year, if you actually look at who's representing us and what we're doing, they don't even work 10 hours a week. They're too busy shaking hands and kissing babies, raising money to do all this BS and politics, when if they just did their job, we'd be in a better place.
You know, Donald, I want to first of all thank you for something important that you said. You didn't say it this way, but it's what it is. Patience. And I love that you said, Egberto, what you and Neil and others are doing in the progressive space and the space to try to make things better, it doesn't occur overnight. It's not going to be overnight. It takes time to get it done and get it done. You have to continue to invest and you have to continue to work your people. And that's what we intend to continue doing. And thank you very much for recognizing that, brother. Anything else you got to say before we move on?
Oh, yeah. I like the second verse. My vote will count because it featured Stevens and she's fine. And I just want Anita to know if she was voting for president, see a fine drop of dark chocolate that I would vote for. And that's it.
Oh, God. Go ahead. Continue, brother. You have a great day, Donald. Sometimes you just got to laugh, man. Sometimes you just got to laugh. Anyway, Neil, come on in. By the way, folks, 713. All lines are open now. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I tell you, Neil, let me play this piece real quick first, okay? Let me play one video. And folks, don't forget the things that we don't cover on air. You can go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. And everything that we were originally supposed to discuss is there. But of course, you know, you take precedence. I take the telephones and give that precedence. So let's go ahead and play this piece, Neil, and then we'll take it on the other side. Another Republican throws in the towel. He can't take it anymore. The unwieldy House is no longer professional, no longer congenial. I mean, it is one of those things where it seems like Hakeem Jeffries could become Speaker of the House before the end of the term. Because I tell you, the way these guys are falling like flies, he may not have to wait to win the Congress. It may just happen by attrition. Check this out from Ken Buck, Republican in Colorado, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Republican Congressman Ken Buck announced he's leaving Congress at the end of the week in a move that will further shrink his party's slim majority. His departure means the Republicans can spare just 2 votes on legislative matters before needing Democrats to govern. The Colorado lawmaker had previously announced he would retire at the end of his term.
So, Congressman Buck, talk to me about a bit what has frustrated you so much about this era of politics and particularly Congress. What's made it so difficult?
You really need me to say that. You need me to explain what's so difficult about this place. I was, as you see, the number 3 in seniority on that committee, and I asked questions last. And you need me to explain what is so complicated about that, or how we try to impeach somebody for a difference in policy. We've taken impeachment and we've made it a social media issue as opposed to a constitutional concept. This place just keeps going downhill, and I don't need to spend my time here.
Wow, Gentleman Martin, I mean, I can't say it better than him. And he is frustrated, obviously, with his own party. And it doesn't seem like Speaker Johnson knew this was coming.
No, he was blindsided, as was Steve Scalise, the number 2 in the House GOP leadership. Wow. Ken Buck has not been happy for a long time. And it kind of reflects the sort of radicalization of somebody in Ken Buck, who, came to some level of prominence running as a Tea Party candidate in 2010, which feels like the Ice Age for the U.S. Senate. Sort of political outsider who eventually gets to the House, has done almost 10 years in the House, and has come to the conclusion, as quite a few folks have in the House in recent time, of this place is not worth it anymore. And Buck realized that and decided not to run, but is so frustrated now. He says, take this job and shove it. I'm leaving next week, which I think is sort of an extreme version of where a lot of people are in the House. He just says it out loud, Mika.
I find it amazing. Ken Buck came in on the Tea Party wave. The Tea Party wave. Do you remember when we thought the Tea Party was crazy? Do you remember when we thought the Tea Party was the end of the world? And now the Tea Party seems mellow compared to MAGA. The Tea Party seems like it's, can we go back to the Tea Party days? Because this MAGA thing, it's nuts. What's going to happen to the country? We'll fix it in November. And I really mean that, Neil. When I was doing that piece, I needed to say something at the end, right? And it just came to, because I do all these clips on the fly, and I said, wait a minute, we can fix this stuff in November. Everybody knows it's broken. Even Tea Party Republicans know that it's broken. Tea Party Republicans, Neil, they know that it's broken. We can fix this in November. The path is there, Neil. The path is there. Before I go to Ray, Neil, let me hear you.
One thing I'd like to say is that's good. I'm glad he did that. We have seen through Trump's tenure, some of the legislators get just a small number of the Republicans get vocally, fed up visibly. I think a lot of them have quit Congress, and just the Republicans. But if you remember, there was a Senator Flake, Arizona.
Of course, I remember Flake. Oh yeah, he quit.
Buck.
Yeah.
What I would like to see though at some point is not just leaving the party, but switching parties, or they'll keep telling you, but I can't bring myself to vote for Biden. And I understand there are policy differences, but there's so much on the line. I need some of these folks just to, like Senator Murkowski of Alaska just said, I'm not voting for Trump, and that's fine. That's good. But at what point do you say, stop drawing the equivalency between Trump and Biden, and there's so much at stake. I wish these folks would go a little further.
And I think that's for us to actually start pointing them to do that. And I think we need to start verbally pointing that out. Let's go to Ray from Third Ward. Brother Ray, come on in, my brother. How you doing, sir?
Morning, Egberto. I just wanted to say my apologies. I did hear Donald, and I want to give him a shout out for checking out the music video. I did send it to you, so it's in your inbox right now. So
thank you, brother.
That out. But basically, it's a throwback to old school civics and really making everybody understand how our vote can affect every branch of government. And to the point of Mr. Ken Buck, it is intriguing to see these Tea Party Republicans. I'm old enough to remember when, the Tea Party was the most extreme wing of Republican Party. And it's just intriguing to me to say that, somebody who came in on that wave, basically said, hey, I'm okay with, basically being the most racist movement in opposition to the first black president. But this Donald Trump guy is a step too far,
It's amazing.
Only more of those Republicans would say that.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate your call, and thank you for sending that. I really want to see it, and so I'll go ahead and check that out. Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. I think he's going to get clicked right now. Brian, line number 4. Brian, you're on.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. So I don't understand what you just said about the Tea Party.
Yes.
I mean, I got into this conversation pretty late. I haven't heard anything about the Tea Party in 6 or 7 years. Can you name a candidate that's running as the Tea Party?
I can't. You're right. Everybody's running as MAGA. I mean, most Republicans are running as MAGA. You're right.
Okay, so just like the Democrats being opposed to the civil rights movement in '64, I guess it's possible that now we totally switched again.
Actually, it's actually what you're saying is so right. Democrats in '64 needed. I mean, it was Johnson, a fairly good Democrat. Actually, is a good politician who needed the support of Republicans to pass civil rights. So yes, Republicans were responsible for civil rights, passing civil rights in the old days. But all the Republicans became either progressive Republicans or the Democrats known then as Dixiecrats then took over the Republican Party. But since I'm out of time, Brian, and I have a lot of calls, I'm going to say thank you. I qualified what you just said, and where you were right. I pointed out that you were right. Thank you very much, Brian. Let's go to Michelle. Michelle, you're on.
Hello?
Yes, you're on, Michelle.
Yeah, hi,
Michael.
Michael. That's okay.
Oh, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So I've been apolitical all my life, and Trump has kind of woken me up. I consider him like a modern bubonic plague sort of thing. And
did you say? Hold on. Did you say modern bubonic plague?
Yes, sir.
Wow! I'm going to steal that one from you, but go ahead, my friend.
Okay, my pleasure. So since I've opened my eyes, and because he's just outright scary to everybody, I think. As I think many people, as far as the progressive movement, fear financial impact. From the conservatives to moderate conservatives, they just feel as though the progressive movement would spike debt, and they may feel that their personal wealth would not benefit. And I just wanted to ask you: are there good answers to those fears, or I just wanted to get your input?
No, believe it or not, the reason I am against Donald Trump and the entire MAGA movement has little to do with finances, though people's finances would be affected. We would get a new type of capitalism, a deeper crony capitalism under Trump, because he's very transactional, no morals, etc. So no, I'm not concerned about money. I'm concerned really about, everybody look at this thing at freedom as it's somehow esoteric. I'm concerned that this guy is willing to go out there and say, well, it's my way or the highway. We have a Biden in office right now that is a dead opposite. In fact, he wants to move everything by consensus. Donald Trump will tell you, and he actually tells you, that the reason he likes Orban is that he goes ahead and he says, this is the way it's going to be, and it is done. He just said that last week, and I believe it. And if you're going to move 50,000 civil servants with the Project 2025, that's exactly what you're able to do. Go ahead, Michael, before I move on.
Oh, no. And I'm not too familiar. Is there such a thing called Schedule? Is it Schedule F?
Yes, there is a Schedule F as well. Yes.
Yeah, I needed to educate myself on that. And that is, somebody had broken that down for me, and I might have the wrong terminology for that, but it's just where a president can come in and just do massive layoffs to try to turn.
Yes. Yeah. It's an order, sir. It's an executive order.
Yeah. Right. That's just downright scary. I need to do some reading on that.
Well, Michael, I got to go, but I hope you continue to listen to our program and continue to call into our program. We all learn a whole lot of this stuff together. All right, brother?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
And Michael, I'd encourage you as you talk about having a political awakening, I'd encourage you, please, sir, to talk to other people who you know who may be apolitical and talk about that process that you've had with them. It's so important.
Thank you. Let me go to Johnny. Johnny, you only got 15 seconds, and then Harry 15 seconds. Go ahead, Johnny. 15 seconds.
No problems. Let's not forget that Ken Buck is the same guy who said that the Democrats and or the Joe Biden administration, that because they advocated for assault weapons ban reinstitution and gun control, he called that a political stunt. He's also a member of the Freedom Caucus, which is just a different name for the Tea Party, which was hijacked by that billionaire guy called Koch brother.
Thank you, Johnny. You're absolutely right. Let's go. Got you. I got to go to Harry. Harry, you got 15 seconds, and I really mean 15 seconds, brother.
Yeah, let me be more specific. Unless you are a billionaire or a millionaire multi times over and want a tax cut, another tax cut was if Donald Trump wins and gets a Republican Senate and the House, then you'll get that. The Warren Buffett who believes in paying your fair share, then vote for someone who...
Got to go. Thank you, Harry. Harry, got to go. Let's go to the studio. My brother's in the studio. Real quick.
Oh, I don't have anything going on. Just people look at Project 2025. It will scare you. And I think I hope the guardrails will hold if they don't remove them. And that's it.
Jack?
Jack says he has nothing.
All right, Neil, please.
He used up all of his wisdom.
All right. Neil, give me a quick closer and tell us about your website real quick.
Very good. Houston Democracy Project, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. There's a daily blog. There's a petition to sign to commit to showing up no matter what in 2024, 2025. Please don't forget the local stuff. Focus on the local stuff and keep on it.
Anyway, folks, Neil's blog, I love it. Houston Democracy Project, always short and sweet. In fact, when it gets too long, I'm like, hey, what got into you, Neil? Anyway, folks, great writer, man. Great writer. Anyway, folks, please remember anything that we didn't cover today, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All the videos, all the articles are right there. I want to thank Harry. I want to thank Howard and Jack. I want to thank Neil Aquino. I want to thank all of the callers, listeners. Thank you very much. I love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.